everybody. Thank you for attending this event tonight. My name is Kate Kozlowskis. I am one of the reference librarians here at the Ames Free Library. We're very pleased to welcome Robert J. Buddy Wooster and John Coe, who are here to discuss, as you know, their book, A Beautiful Image of Historic Easton. And I will turn it over to John. He can get started.
Great.
Did you want to?
Great. I don't think I need this, but the coach is going to hold this. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to hold it. All right. Yeah.
So, welcome everybody tonight. It's been a kind of a whirlwind the last few years producing this book that Buddy and I have. Buddy's vision a few years ago. We talked about doing a photographic essay, kind of a coffee table book of the beautiful image of historic Easton. And hi, come on in. So we painstakingly went around Easton for a couple of years. I'm the photographer. Buddy's got all the brains. Okay, so you know that, all right? And so we've been all around Easton looking for an awful lot of images, today's images, not images of yesteryear, really of the beauty of Easton as we see it today, with historic value and content that you're going to see. And if you have not taken a peek at the book, we've got them, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later, but you're going to see a number of representation images of the book. But before we get into that, a couple things that I'd like Buddy to talk about a little bit, because, again, it's his vision. He thought about this probably before we even started the project. He just thought I knew I could take a few pictures, and I took a few pictures here and there, but I've been taking pictures for an awful long time. And I love, I guess I would call myself more of a wildlife and nature photographer, because I love the beauty of birds, butterflies, hummingbirds, deer, I mean everything. And you'll probably see in the book a couple of really, really cool pictures of some wildlife in Easton. But more than that, where they are, whether they're at sheep pasture, whether they're in our backyard, whether they're at Frothingham Park, Stonehill College. We've hit every part of the town pretty much. Not everyone, but we pretty much did. We were with you that day on Mountain Road when you didn't see the deer right up. You probably see them all day long, but we went up there and we were looking for some. Actually, we were at the cemetery up there, the Tisdale Cemetery, which is a chapter in the book, and interesting things. And the beauty of cemeteries, I feel, is probably the folks that are buried there. It's beautiful. There's a lot of beauty there. So I'd like Buddy to talk a little bit about whatever he wants to talk about. He's the coach. And but about the book and how we started this, and we'll get into a little thing. I've got a few images here you might like seeing, and there's a couple topics that I think they're very interesting. And I know we want to ask you a few things about what, if you've got the book, what you liked about it. And I know Buddy's idea, he really wants to talk about, everybody's urging us. My wife Paula's back there, and don't hear this, Paula, but the volume 2. All right. And she says, oh no, not again. You're going to be, but to me it's fun. It's fun. So without further ado.
I just have some things for you to consider when you watch this. And one of them is going to be if a supplement is produced, what would you, 5 things, now this is something you're going to have to think about, 5 pictures of areas that you would like to add to it. Consider the seasons, time of day, personal meaning, historic, and so forth. What are your 3 favorite pictures that you will see here, or images, and why? Those are things that I'd like you to consider as you're watching this. The book did come about. I was going by Johnny's Memorial Day 2 years ago, this last Memorial Day, and happened to see Johnny, and I had already seen some pictures that he had taken of Bobby and Tommy, and of course, Scott. And I thought, well, you know, maybe he's the guy that could do what I had imagined for a number of years. And after looking at the images that he had in the book, there was no question in my mind. Later on, we resorted for information, additional information, to Hazel Loewe, Ed Hans, Frank Menino. We were sponsored by Bob Berg, who was Northeast Savings Bank. And everything came together at the right time. So for that, I'm grateful, and I hope you are for this beautiful photographic image that Tony has done. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Coach. So this is the book. It's more than 250 pages, but it's probably more than 500 images, and they're they're all JPEGs, pretty good color. Everything that we've compiled, I've compiled over the years. There's a couple oldies. I needed some oldies in there because a couple pictures and images tell a story. And when I tried to tell a little bit of a story here, I needed a few of the older pictures, and I'll give you a couple examples later on. So if you want to take a look, peek, and pass that around. I've got a lot of books here, by the way. If you don't have one, and just so you know, the book, we donated our time. We donated all our time, our efforts. The printing was subsidized by the Northeastern Savings Bank and Bob Berg, but we donated. Once it was done, we gave it to the Historical Society and said, go ahead and sell it. You know, so all the proceeds, 100%, have gone to them. So we're very, 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 very proud of that. And it's going to help them an awful lot. There's a lot of things they're doing down there at the H.H. Richardson Railroad Station that everybody's going to love. So it's really a worthwhile project, and I'm glad we could do that. So without further ado, I want to take you to a few pictures. And what we did, we started off really on Bay Road. The deepest part of the south of Bay Road, which is down by, Norton and down coming this way. And I wanted to look at, and Buddy wanted to look at, a lot of the still standing oldest houses we've got along Bay Road. Looking at some of the markers on Bay Road. As you all know, the Bay Road has some beautiful, beautiful historic Boston and Taunton mile markers that were in front of taverns back in the day. And they're just amazing, just absolutely amazing. They're still standing. And so we'll take you through to a few of those. I'm going to have a little bit of music going on here, but I'm going to stop with a few of these as we go by. So that's the cover. So the beautiful image. So when we look at that, and that's one I took a lot of years ago. Does anybody know where that is? Yeah. So it's, if you're a photographer, if you love the fall and the colors at Easton, and you go by Main Street, and you love Langwater Pond, and you know the boathouse over there is crumbling, all right? It's turning, and everybody right here on Main Street, I'm looking like probably northwest. Everybody takes that picture. Yeah, isn't it beautiful though? I mean, you've got to be there on the right day, and you look at it, and it's just gorgeous. I know with the lighting a little bit. I don't know if I can turn this down just a tad. Make it cooler too. If we can turn that down to get that color a little bit more. But I've got some portraits of this, some canvases. Yeah, we can take that down. don't need lighting. You don't want to see me anyway. Shut it right off. How about the sides? Can you throw the sides off too? Yeah, they're incandescent too. Close it right out. Ah! A view from Main Street. So when you're looking there, I call it reflections. So you get some great reflections. You can turn it up and backwards and show it to somebody that doesn't know Easton, they don't know which side's up. They really don't. So it's just a gorgeous thing. So one of the things about the beauty is just, a lot of towns have this, but I think Easton really has a lot of this. So it's just a beautiful piece there. So as we go along, now, I think Beth would like this one. That's another colorful. Does anybody know where that is? You haven't read that. You haven't read that. So it's the park, Frothingham Park, and that bubbler taking a number of shots there, and sometimes during the winter. I guess the winter shots, they're looking at the scoreboard, the old football field, and it's just beautiful. But the park itself, it's just a treasure back there. So there's an awful lot of great pictures that we've taken. The beauty of Easton, as we look through. Now this one, I just absolutely, and everybody is. I bet you've taken that picture too. Yeah. Everybody remember that? You know it's still standing, right?
No.
It's not. No. 2 years ago, a big storm hit that. It was a lightning storm. So my wife and I, we take a walk through here a lot around the sheep pasture, and we get in back of the solar panels all over the place now, right? So you walk back by there, and we heard it got hit. But if you can really see, I never noticed this. And some of the things that you really look at on pictures, but there are some guide wires running through this tree. They were supporting this big great oak, keeping it from falling down. I never knew that until I really looked. And you could, I don't know if I can show you one of the wires here. It's very tough to see in this picture on this TV. But for example, they probably were like from here to here. There was some up here, some coming down like that, holding these big limbs. But just a beautiful, what I loved about this, you've got a lot of the growth here. The barn in the back is absolutely beautiful. So it's just a nice touch. And we thought that, and Buddy, what did you tell me about that tree and your family?
That tree was planted by during John F. Ames' tenure and ownership. And both of them, I guess. But at any rate, he planted it, had it planted, and thought it was a beautiful tree. And it began to die. And he called on some of his farm laborers and sent them into the stables, shoveled all the manure from the stables, enriched the loam all around the tree, and it survived.
Wow.
And if it hadn't been for that, it wouldn't have. And that's just such a gorgeous tree. It had more extensive limbs originally, but
How about that branch there? Everybody knows that branch, right? What did you say you did with your kids? You used to go out there and
swing on it.
they swing them. Yeah,
One of the grandkids.
How many kids? How many siblings? 7, 8, 7. You mentioned 7 Worcesters. I'm not sure. But that was Noah, so it was just beautiful. So that was one of the ones we saw on the Clark farm.
Actually, Rob took Nancy's husband took a lot of pictures of that because it was obviously so beautiful. It was very, really unusual.
Just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. So I would tell you this. Now we've got a few of these. So the beauty of Easton, and I would tell you this. I've got a number of these. My granddaughter is here, probably the youngest next to you in this room, is Sophia Aniston. And I think she took this one. I've got my name, but we got a bunch of these. But I think she took this one, and in our backyard. And so that's the Dithonia plant and a beautiful monarch. You know, we all see those every day, you know, and I don't want to take those for granted.
They're getting fewer and fewer.
Well,
They have to have a certain plant to feed on, the milkweed.
yeah.
And when that goes, they go with it. So they will go someplace else to seek that food. And frankly, I haven't seen, well, I haven't been out that much, but I think they have been trouble.
They're back. They're back. And we've seen those in the garden. Lately, it's a lot of butterflies. Have you all seen this in your garden? You've seen more butterflies lately? I have. I've seen a lot of monarchs lately, which are beautiful. And those are our hummingbirds. I mean, beauty of Easton. I love the hummingbirds. The clock downtown, the winter scene. That's a beautiful bluebird. That's at sheep pasture. We captured that at sheep pasture. I love the males. Don't you all love the male hummingbirds? They're just absolutely gorgeous. The apartments, the walkways, what they've done, such a beautiful job. I want to stop here and talk about the markers a little bit. So this is the Joseph Gilbert marker, which is up by Mountain Road. And I always say it's in front of the Comstock house, and I remember Phil Comstock used to live there. And whose house is that now? Do you know?
It's his brother.
His brother lives there. Okay, so we got up there, and Buddy said, "Hit the markers. We got to go get the markers, right?" So we're along Bay Road, and this was a couple years ago, and all the leaves are all over it. We couldn't see it. We went by it a couple times. I said, "I know it's in front of that house." So for all that in Easton know all the markers, they're Taunton, Boston, miles. Boston, 23 miles. Taunton, I think, was at 13 miles to Taunton, 23 to Boston. Now, the interesting thing about this one, I believe, is that the tavern, wherever they made this, was in 1773. Something's chiseled out there, okay? And I blew this up, and I tried infrared, what did they knock out? That was either they made an error, that could be a 5.
It looks as though they did make an error.
I think it was a 5, and they made it a 3. That's my belief. I don't know. I really don't know. But why would they chisel that up? Unless it just got, some kid came by and chiseled, you know, probably one of the Worcester kids came up with a chisel back in 1773. Probably not. But these are all along Bay Road. A couple really interesting ones about the markers. Right at the head of Summer Street, there is the Tony Fontez's house, White House. It's in the book. And he's got a marker. It's not out front. It's not in the land. It's not in front of his house. Guess where it is? Well, they buried it and they made it part of his foundation. They grabbed it down the street, and you're going to see that in the book. And it's actually in the corner, turned this way, and it's on the corner of his foundation. So he was gracious enough to let me and Buddy go down there, and I'm on my back, and we're taking pictures all over the place. It is just incredible. A couple others are really noteworthy, too. Here's one, and it's Josiah Keith. The Josiah Keith marker. And it's up further up. It's near Cross Street, not far from there. It's everything is basically, every marker that we have today is on the west side of Bay Road. Everything we have today. And he's waving at me. What did he say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. It's like she's either going like this or chopping. I don't know what she said. But that marker, his name was crossed out. It was rubbed out. It was chiseled out. And it turned out that Josiah Keith, this was the third, and he's buried in the Colonel Williams graveyard on Prospect Street in Bay Road, Prospect Street, right there, going down. There's one on the right, Colonel and Lieutenant and Colonel Williams. He's buried there. His name is all chiseled out. His headstone is in the graveyard. And back in that day, all the gravestones were east to west, facing east to west. His north to south. His name is chiseled off. Okay, he committed suicide. Back in the day, wasn't thought of as too great of a thing to do. So someone chiseled off his name. You can see it. It's in the book. And I tried to do a little infrared on that. You can see it. And we were looking for the gravestone. Tough to find. Can't see any writing on it. But there it is. There's two of them. All right? And I got that in hands. I said, Ed, I said, what's going on? There's two. Who's the other one? He says, that's just one. I said, what do you mean? It's a headstone and a footstone. Back in the day, they had footstones. Well, figure. But there it is. They're perpendicular to all the others, which was kind of an interesting thing. The last thing on the stones I would tell you, there's one up by the Josiah Keith House, the oldest house in Easton, 1717. And it's actually in the culvert. They used it, they pulled it, it's in the culvert. So Ed Hand says, yeah, it's underneath. If you can get under the Bay Road, and you get under there, you can probably see it. Well, I think he was telling me something that I should. I got wet going under there, and I'm looking under in the winter, and I couldn't see it, but I could see where those types of rocks could have been. It could have been. And there's a lot more of those stones. So we had a chapter on churches as well, and some beautiful churches that we have at Easton, and we captured an awful lot of. I found the Unity churches. I got a couple of really, really famous windows, the Lafarge windows. There's an east one and a west. So I took the pictures. You're okay. Until I was told, go inside when the sun is rising on the east and setting in the west, and you hit the shots then, and that's what you see right now. They're beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. One of the things on the east window of the Unity Church, where they were putting these in, the window there, the existing window, they donated to the Immaculate Conception Church on Main Street. That's their window now, which was pretty cool. So some real beauty in a lot of the churches is outdoor churches. A lot of outdoor chapels. So we hit, and there's a couple of churches that back in the day, 1856, a lot of them, they were playing musical churches. The church moved from here to there. They went from here to Protestant, Methodist, and Congregational, went to Lutheran, blah, 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 blah. It was kind of funny, I thought. So, but there's one I'll show you an example of pretty soon. Anybody know where that is? Sunnyside. It's the only other house in Easton that had a name attached to it that wasn't an Ames House. They named it Sunnyside. Who knows where that is?
Center Street.
Where is that?
Center Street.
Yep. Where on Center?
Near Columbus.
Yeah, it's actually kind of the rectory of the First Baptist Church of Easton. Became the Episcopal Church, St. Mark's. Went through a few of the churches, but that was the rectory, and it was called Sunnyside. That just a kind of a interesting church. So why is that called the Honeymoon Suite? We all know that, I think, in Easton. You go up Lincoln Street. You're going west. The 1895 big yellow Oliver Ames High School is on the left. And Barrow Street is going that way, going south. And you look right, it's the Honeymoon Suite. It's a beautiful, beautiful honeymoon anywhere, and they went there. That was their honeymoon. So just an interesting house. Today it is a private residence. You can see Oaks Ames Hall right behind it. Okay, I've got to tell you this story. This is today it's a privately owned house on Mechanic Street. Everybody know where I'm talking about now? It's on Mechanic Street. Right across from the lockup, the old police lockup. This once was, in 1845, turned out to be a Methodist church. It was built on the site where the rockery is right now. All right, it was a Methodist church. They broke away from the Methodists up on Elm and Washington Streets, right across from the cemetery on the north side of Elm and Washington, the northwest corner. They broke away from them because they didn't like to drive up there. There's no drive, there's walking, there's horses, it's too far away. So they broke away, they wanted their own Methodist church. So they built this church on the rockery. Well, that sect of the Methodists didn't last too long. The Unitarians came to fruition, let's put it that way, in 1855. They took it over on the rockery. So now, right after that, you know what happened with that beautiful Unitarian church that still stands today. They went down there. So they said, okay, we'll sell you. The Methodists actually wanted to buy it again. They came back, they almost went out, but they wanted to do it again. They came back, bought this, but the qualifier was they had to move it to an area, another area of town, at your own cost. And it was the Methodist Episcopal, Central Methodist Episcopal Church back in the day. So they actually, back in the day, they moved buildings all over Easton. And think about how you move houses and things. You couldn't do it today. So the wires all over the place, you couldn't do it. It was like, instead of building something, they moved them. So they moved it down to Mechanic Street, dropped it in 1876. 1889, they raised it up a couple levels. And in the book, you'll see this by the rockery, the old picture. I needed to show that picture. Because it's a fabulous building. The bell is the oldest bell in Easton. One thing I always thought was pretty cool. It then became the Baptist Church. So they went from 1876 as the Methodist Church. Episcopalians went down to St. Mark's. Baptists came in 1971. They actually, oh, by the way, the Central Methodists, they went over to Pearl Street in Brockton. The Methodist Church right there on Pearl Street. That's where the Methodists are today. They didn't take the bell. The bell, by the way, the Historical Society has the rights to the bell, which is very, very cool. It's still there. Baptists until 79. Temple Shaddai Shalom was there until 96. Now it's private. So kind of really, really interesting when you look at some of the churches. And that's not the only church that moved all over the place too. So in the book, you're going to see that this is down the rockery. Another one right in that same picture, you're going to see in front of the library here. This is back in 1840-ish, before they built the library. You're going to see another little building. Okay? It's another Methodist church, which became a tenement house. That was the first church, the Methodist Church in Easton, which was down on Elm and Washington. They actually took that, they built a big one, they moved it to the side. The big one was there now. What do we do with this? The Ames has bought it, they brought it down, stuck it in front of the library. It's a tenement house for all of Range shuttle workers. And then they build a library. What do we do with this building that's in our front lawn? They take it right up to Lincoln Street. It's up there today, and you'll see it in the book. That church is no longer privately owned. It's a house. A beautiful house. It's right up in Lincoln, just before the reservoir on the right. A little bit before that. So you're going to see that. That's very interesting. The Maisie Record House, Paquonicket Ave, gorgeous federal-style house. Tommy Williams hayride. Who took a Tommy Williams hayride in this room? I did. Yeah, okay, we got a few. Paula, you were on one. Come on. All right, now here's a question for you. The Tommy Williams hayride wagon was something in Easton back in the day. He actually, this was back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Probably the 60s, like probably anyone around town, kids would get in as a hayride. I mean, you couldn't do it today. You couldn't have a kid get on that wagon with all that hay. But, you know, the kids were hanging off the side, getting splinters, and but that's up at the NRT. So you'll see that wagon. I think it is still up there in the back somewhere. But now this one, anybody know where that is?
Oh, yeah.
You see something in the window? Yeah, it's a telephone. It's down at the corner. It's Connolly Insurance right now, right in the corner of Main and Center. But you see the 1895 Ames High School in the reflection. But those are very cool. That was the telephone switching office in the day. That's a view from the top of the Oaks Ames Memorial Hall from the. Now this is the 1895 Ames High School. This is the rotunda, an absolutely work of art. These are some of the marble fountains in there. Now one of the stories I'd like Buddy to tell.
Was that the junior high when, Beth? Was that the junior high when you were there?
It was 5th and 6th grade.
It was the junior high when I went to.
We were there. It was the junior high, and that would have been 1965, something like that, right? Go back. Way back. Way back. I'm losing. So one of the things that Oliver Ames' family, when they made this beautiful high school, before that was the Easton High School. It wasn't Oliver Ames High School. You ever hear today, Oliver Ames, is that a private school? You know, what is that? You know, back in the day, before 1895, Easton High School, Easton School, Easton High School. Oliver Ames High School, 1895, Fred Ames tells me that they were under budget to build the front section of that school. And they said, okay, take the extra, and I heard it was $25,000, $30,000 back in the day, that's probably $1 million. And they said, make a really, really nice front area inside. And they really, really made it nice. I hope you get a chance to go up there and take a look at it. I went to that school as a junior high student. I don't remember a lot of it. I walked by the thing. I walked by these bubblers that were marble, the inscriptions on it. They're absolutely gorgeous. And well, what I found out when it was the actual high school, which Buddy went to, there was a little interesting fact about that during the war. Now, he was a high schooler during the war, World War II. So can you tell that story a little bit about what the students did during World War II?
Well, what we did, we became watchers of airplanes. We would go up on the roof itself, and John McCarthy and I were there for a couple summers.
Oh, you're good.
And up on that, the roof and the balcony with a rail around it, we'd be looking east, and every time an airplane went by, we would call Darby 47 and report it. Now, obviously, we never saw an enemy plane, but we spent a lot of afternoons enjoying the scenery up there.
They were in watch. They were in World War II plane watch for Nazi planes coming over to Easton. They're going to bomb Easton. Well, yeah, hey, listen.
Never heard that.
We weren't too worried.
And somebody said if the rail going up to the top of the building that you saw in the earlier picture, a lot of students carved their names all over it. They're still up there today, I guess. And did you carve any of those?
I don't remember. That's a famous reply.
Yeah. But it's a great story. I mean, I never knew that. They're looking for planes. They're in the war. This is part of the war effort. So get up there and see that sometime. It's just bad. It's an apartment building now. It's beautiful. I never appreciated it when I was in school.
You want to tell them about the water?
Oh, the water. Well,
Come on.
so water everywhere. Not a drop to drink. So the inscription right here.
This on the rotunda.
So there is a poem, and it's in the book. My name is water. I have sped through strange dark ways untried before by pure desired friendship led. There's one here, and there's another one on the other side with the other part of the inscription. Famous poem, and it was
Robert Lowell?
Robert Lowell. He was 40 years before, when they had the reservoir that connected from Cochituate out to Boston. There was a giant celebration when they actually did that, and he made a very, very big poem. And parts of the poem are here in the rotunda, it's fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. So you want to take a look at that, and in the book it'll give it more detail. It's at the library. Everybody's seen that right behind the library. Beautiful, beautiful sculptures. Everybody's taken that from all different angles. I've done it every Henry Hobson Richardson. I've got a picture of him when he was like 120 pounds. So that's a shot through the.
That's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, I got that in the winter, and they're really, really nice. And the Four Seasons are beautiful with these buildings. And that's up at Oaks Ames, looking through, right down the stairwell that they're working on today. And talk about the zodiac here for a minute, Oaks Ames. So you look around there, and there's January, February, March, anybody found December? If you look up there, it's everyone except for December. They ran out of space. There's no December, so sorry, it's just not there. But I kept looking around, and I was telling Fred I was going to scale up the side and see if I could find the other December, or go up the roof. It's not there. It's not there, but they're really, really beautiful sculptures. That's a winter scene. Now that, very interesting. Has anybody been up the third floor of Oaks Ames, where the Masonic Temple was once? Just an interesting building. And you look at I wasn't a Mason. I know my dad was and my grandfather was, but they have an actual temple up there. And there's some incredible stained glass windows, the seeing eye, all over the ceiling. They have these little portholes by the door that it's a special knock that goes there, and they open it up, and they got to make this. I don't know what it is, but a lot of the remnants of it are still there. And then they moved out and they went to you can see it on William Street, over there where the Lutheran Church was once there. So just, if you ever get a chance to go up there, just very interesting. And that one, that's beautiful. I still call it the Parker's house. And if you haven't gone on one of the tours with Ed Hands, this is Ed. He does Tuesday tours He's one of the greatest historians of Easton, along with Hazel, Frank Menino. There's a lot of historians, but these folks are just incredible. Ed is a treasure for Easton. He does Tuesday tours. He goes to the last one he had. I think they were doing Center School, the 1854 Center School. They had to cancel the one the other day. But if you ever get a chance on Tuesday to free tours, hitch up with Ed. You can learn an awful lot. Borderland, boy, isn't that beautiful? What a treasure up there. I love the story of the bell. This is the bell that the Ameses, Oakes and Blanche. Oakes was a botanist, Harvard trained and taught. He was down in Cuba and looking, he was really big into orchids. And he was on an orchid expedition. And they were on this old farm that was run down and everything, found this beautiful Spanish bell. And he said, I want it. They lugged this thing all the way from Cuba up, took it, they got it on a ship, came up. The McCarthy trucking took it all the way up there. They brought it, they put it up by the street. Then eventually they put it up on the top of the Borderland mansion, where Blanche's, she was really brilliant. She kind of figured out a mechanical way to ring that bell on the hour. And I don't know, I never remember the bell. Do you remember the bell ringing? I don't know when they stopped that, but
Occasionally still.
They do?
Occasionally, yeah. 'Cause I
Yeah.
can hear it from my house.
Got a legend ringer on the tour, I think.
they did. Wonderful. There's gold infused in there too. They put gold in there, gold dollars and things for the tone. So they actually is gold in there. So don't, if somebody wants to steal gold coins out of a bell up there, but they, let me tell you, that's beautiful. Lee Williams donated that clock years ago, beautiful clock downtown. That's on Oliver Howard Burying Ground, Short Street. That's a gorgeous, everybody's seen that house going down Short Street on the left. Down at the Stonehouse Hill house at Stonehill, I don't know, what do they call that today, buddy? You went to Stonehill. It's not Stonehouse Hill, they call it, they call that the, what do they call it today? Anybody at Stonehill?
It's the mansion.
Yeah, the kids call it something else. It's, well, anyway, okay.
It's administration, but Mars.
Yeah.
Everybody has a-
So, Frederick Lothrop, just a beautiful, beautiful mansion. That's where it all started. Did they have classes when you were there in the building?
We had a couple because we only had one other building when I was
Yep.
there, but that was the Lothrop Ames House.
At Stonehill also, you can have has anybody seen the Shovel Museum down there? Beautiful. Just, you gotta get down there. It's the Arnold, Tobias Industrial Archives. All the, many the shovels are there, all the different kinds they had are down in there. A lot of it's by appointment to get in there. We went in there, it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. That's behind Simpson Spring, the old sign. I captured that. The Morse Factory building. That is beautiful today, too. The Queen of the Langwater Guernsey cows. Can you name them? What's the name? Oh, come on. It's the picture.
Dolly Dimple.
You gave it away. It's Dolly Dimple. She was the Queen of the Guernsey. They gave like goldish, beautiful milk, and they were the Guernseys were the hit of all over the country. I want to tell you about this story a little bit. I won't take too long on this.
Promise?
So after the book came out, This is Mark Luke and his brother Jimmy Luke. That is Nancy DeLuca on the left. Chris is the principal. Getchell, the principal of Richard. They had a field day down in the park. Mark Luke wanted to buy each school in Easton the book to put in their libraries. So I think there were 6, 7 books he bought with his brother Jimmy. And that's our superintendent of schools. And it was quite a nice presentation down there. And you can see Buddy is up there on the porch, I think. He was right there. And actually, we had all the students wave to him. It was a hot day, and it really was. And I said, well, wave up to the English teacher all the rings back in the 60s and 70s, So they all waved up, oh, like that. It was really great. But I thought that was a wonderful thing, so we wanted to really recognize him. Did a great job. Top of the railroad station. Beautiful. I caught that deer right over by Spring Hill. And that's beautiful. That's the Oliver Ames House. Was the Frederick Ames House. And they always had these insignias. A lot of, you'll see in the book, a lot of the Ameses always had an A, a racket up there, a horse up there. And you all know that's the gatehouse. From the back side. Now this is Bob Berg. We want to give them a lot of credit because they took the printing. They just subsidized all the printing. And here is Bob, and this is kind of the brain trust of the Historical Society. You got Buddy, who's a director. Bob Berg is Hazel. Ken Michael is an ugly guy over there. But this is the station. But Hazel is, everybody knows Hazel. It's just like, she's just remarkable with her historical knowledge and her dedication to Easton. So that's what we have. Now, I think we wanted, for the folks that have purchased the book and looked through it, looking at some feedback. Buddy said, what like 3 things that you like about the book? If we could get any kind of feedback from you. Is there anything specifically that you liked? Did you like the segment on the churches, the schools, anything?
I like the fact that it was a broad look at Easton.
I'm sorry.
It was a broad look at Easton.
Yeah.
And it really gave us a sense of, I thought, houses I've driven by for 100 years, but really didn't realize how historically important they were.
Yeah.
So I thought it was nice to know a little about each of those other homes.
Yeah. And our classmate Janice Hatchfield, we got her house in there, and there's a lot of history on that too, and they're still kind of researching on that. What was it, the Pratt House? Was it, and just fabulous thing. I learned a lot with Buddy. I learned a lot. He probably didn't learn anything from all this because he knows it all.
No, I didn't.
But a lot of things around town, I'm a Northeastern kid. I grew up here all my life, but I know a lot about down at the Foundry, Eastondale. So you'll learn a lot. You really do. And I actually walked the tracks that went down, the old Colony Railroad. We think it all went down and just north of South of Taunton, right by the Easton Country Club, Pine Oaks, right? But actually there was a branch that went over to West Bridgewater. Right, and I tried to walk that line. It went down by Church Street, Simpson Spring, crossed over, went down by High Street, and cut over Turnpike and shoots to West Bridgewater. I'm trying to find the tracks, and I see some remnants of where that may be. He used to run it. He says, they're down there, I ran it. He ran everywhere in Easton, and more. So I couldn't find the rails. There's no rails like they are on north to south, the old colony. But I thought that was really, really, really interesting. So I learned a lot of that. Buddy, the last thing we've been urged to do a volume 2. Are there any topics, if you've seen the book, anything that you'd like to see in the book that, gee, could you, because I've been told a few things, but I'd like to hear from you if maybe we missed out, we did graveyards, schools, churches, old houses. I mean, we took the oldest houses, by the way, but not everyone, and we stopped probably at 1807. I said, I don't want anything newer.
Well, this is generally what that, you could read that, but if they wanted anything or thought of anything,
Yeah.
uh,
What would photos, some photos of things that you'd like to see
things that
that are still here,
yeah.
I don't know. So we're just trying to
I
get
mean,
some
if we were
ideas.
doing a supplement for this, what would you like to add to it that has either personal or historic value to you? And you could make a list, 5 things that you'd like,
I don't know.
yeah.
I think we should give people an email address or place where they can think about this for a little while and then have a comment.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the book yet, but,
Okay.
other than here, but even if you did, you might not be ready to
That's a great comment.
answer that.
That's a great
Yeah,
comment.
and I didn't know there was gonna be a test, so I didn't review the.
I didn't either. But the teacher came up with it. The teacher came up with it. You know who came up with the test. It wasn't me. I'm trying to get away from the test.
You could probably do a book just on some areas like Borderland,
Yeah.
If you did more text and fewer
I
pictures.
thought
I'm
the
sure.
seasonal pictures increase it,
Yeah, it's
and
not
I
meant
think
to be a
that
history,
seasonal
I guess,
pictures of
it's
some of the
more
other
like
areas
Yeah.
would be, I think.
But you can take a million pictures just.
Good.
And increase it also, besides winter, I mean, the spring here, is
Oh, I know.
absolutely gorgeous.
I know. And trust me, there's about 500 pictures here. I probably have 4,000. So we had to stop, because we had deadlines here and there was a cost of more pages. So that's why we have content today for another volume. But I just don't want to regurgitate something that everybody has done in the past. So I want to try to make it more unique and beautiful and all that. So, but you're right. I've got a lot at Queeset. I mean, having my family lived here from 48 to
I know.
49.
See pictures
And-
again and definitely
Yeah,
in the way you were
Yeah,
there.
my brother's trying to drown him, I wasn't born then. I was too young. So, but anyway, I like the idea, the thought about some sort of email thing. But is everybody a member of the Easton Historical Society? So you might want to take, it's like $8 or something like that to be a member.
Very much.
But they have a mailing list, which is great, and Frank he's a curator, does a wonderful job. I'm one of the directors there. So there is a way that we can communicate. I know I communicate a lot for the book and everything via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, personal email. It's just some of those things that you still don't get to everybody. You really don't, mailing lists or whatever.
But you have chat and chowder there.
Well, I went to the last one. It was wonderful, really wonderful, and we presented the book down there. Buddy and I were there, and it was.
That's one I missed.
You missed that one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But I love those. Those are great. But anyway, I want to thank you all for coming very, very, very much. I really appreciate your time being here on a hot, Sunday, summer night. If you're interested in the book, we've got them here from the Historical Society. They are $50, and the money goes right to them. So you can see me and, what's that? Be happy to. We actually had a signing a couple months ago. We sold out of the first run. So we got the second run in, just got it in. So it's pretty successful already, which is great. So, but thank you very, very much for coming. And if you want to communicate, email anything, let me know. I'll write it down and we'll definitely connect. So thank you very much.
Thank you.